But still, there has been some suggestion in the education policy, the draft of the education policy, that what should be the curriculum like. Again, it's not a highly prescriptive suggestion, it is only a broad outline. One is, of course, they are suggesting that there should be a liberal arts program, rather than saying that we will provide you an honors degree in sciences or in physics, chemistry, or in arts or social science or in history, right. So, liberal arts means all students will have a opportunity to open up their mind, look at all aspects of the knowledge coming from sciences or from social science, humanities, in a very analytical way, and then inculcate the methods of learning, the methods of actually testing what is ethically correct, what is valuably useful for the society. So, the other one aspect of education policy is about student support for learning and development. What kind of support that an institution should provide for the students. For example, it says there should be initiative for improving the capacities in given languages. There should be academic reading on campuses, academic writing. For example, there are courses like great books or Indian civilization, right. And then there should be more about reading assignments, rather than sitting in the classroom and listening to teachers reading out from the textbook about Indian civilization or about the very different great books. Good book could be from scientists like Darwin, or it could be novels, it could be Premchand in India, or it could be Shakespeare of the West, right. Academic speaking, providing an opportunity to debate, argue, give seminars, and reasoning and analysis, where the students are challenged with good questions and asking the students to justify what the statements are, right. So, these are the kind of small initiatives will help students to enjoy the campus life, as well as at the same time learn what they are supposed to learn, that is critical thinking and analytical abilities. There has to be sufficient emphasis to the learning outcomes, the impact of learning outcomes of the students who come from social or educational disadvantaged background. Irrespective of what background they come, once they come to the campus, they should have equal opportunity to learn. At the same time, the quality of their learning outcome should be at par with students coming from affluent societies. That means this campus should be an equalizer in the society. It should sort of reduce as much as possible the gap between have and have nots and very different socio-economic sectors of the society. And I have already spoken sufficient about the pedagogy, the importance of pedagogy, which is entirely teacher centric. This is somewhere you need to worry about how to improve the quality of your own teaching by taking up some innovation. Actually, it's very easy in a way, because the modern pedagogy that is needed for the tomorrow's world is actually less burden on the teachers, because it's actually facilitating the students to learn on their own. That means the teacher's job is to nudge the students to learn on their own, create opportunities where there is a seamlessly subconscious part of learning process, rather than forcing them to remember something and write in an examination. For example, you can include discussions, dialogues, debates as part of your pedagogy. You can flip the classroom, you can use modern technology, you can ask students to write an assignment, variety of different methods that you can use. I can give you one example. For example, you are a teacher of a botany, let us say, right, and you want to teach photosynthesis. Typical way of teaching photosynthesis is the chemistry of the how the photons are received and converted into usable form of energy in the plant, or chemical form of energy. And all the proteins that are involved, all the chemical reactions that go on, how the proton pump functions and kind of stuff. Instead, you should take the liberty on and teaching in a certain depth rather than too much in deep. We use variety of different pedagogical methods, where the learning outcome would be such that it's rather than just knowing what photosynthesis is, the general understanding of photosynthesis will help the students to think of how their knowledge can be used to improving the agriculture and mitigating the effect of climate change, right. So, for example, these are the typical questions that, like question number 1 and 2 are the typically what is asked in the current botany classes. Instead, you can also ask, how do plants respond to climate change, right, in the context of what they have learned in the photosynthesis. you can ask the students to discuss the impact of increasing the global CO2 levels on photosynthesis. If they have learned the concept of photosynthesis properly, they should be able to answer this very easily. Now, because photosynthesis is the primary source of energy production on the planet and that is directly related to our agricultural output, you can ask the students to write an assignment, is the global food security at risk due to climate change, right? You can ask the students to explain. Now, rather than asking something on photosynthesis that you have taught, you can ask how they have used this knowledge to and connect to the societal problems. So, the last part of this 12th chapter is more about the students, particularly students coming from socio-economically disadvantaged background. As I mentioned already earlier, large number of our undergraduate students are first generation learners and they are all mostly from disadvantages, socio-economic sections of the society. They require particular encouragement and support to make the transition to higher education really successful. Now, this is where we need to put in extra effort and be very caring and be conscious of their needs in the campus. Our campus should be inclusive, diversity of India should be represented, whether language diversity, socio-economic diversity, culture or geoclimatic zones. There should be sufficient scope for first generation learners, many of them could be non-English speaking students, and we need to provide them to additional support so that they can catch up with the rest, so called the students coming from other parts of the society. And as we all know, most important aspect of learning on a campus is peer learning. Students learn from each other much more than they learn from the teachers, and teachers' job is to nudge them to learn. So, very interesting concept that we can include, which is actually that is already talked about in the draft national education policy, is introducing teaching assistantship for meritorious students. Meritorious students can come from any socio-economic background, but you provide them additional training to become mentors for other students, and you can also provide some financial help these students and say that if you become a mentor and run tutorial for other students, develop methods where their classmates will improve the quality of their learning outcomes, and you provide some financial help. In a way, the students not only they help other students in the process, they can also earn, particularly if the meritorious students are coming from poor economic background. This will be really a needy, a good financial help for them. And because it is supposed to be student centric, and we should actually change the way you teach the students. You have to ask them to study chapters of a textbook through an inquiry lens rather than simply just to remember the words and sentences. You can ask the students to do some small research. It could be minor projects, it could be part of the curriculum, or it could be part of an extracurricular activity. You should encourage them to do summer projects elsewhere outside from the campus, take up internship, and there are many opportunities already provided for this through, for example, all science students can apply to Indian science academies for an internship for doing summer projects in different parts of the country. I think I will stop you, and I hope I have been able to provide you the gist of what is mentioned in the 12th chapter of the draft national education policy, which will enable the teachers to take up the challenges to improve the quality of their own teaching, quality of the learning outcome of their own students. And here it is not something which is imposed on us by something like UGC or MHRD, but it is to providing an opportunity for us to take up the leadership role and change our own campuses and how we teach, what we teach, and how we involve our students in the learning processes, and finally the quality of the learning outcome will be improved, and hopefully our students will be better prepared for the future. Thank you very much.